5'9" with the real red eyes, and we dying inside. Oh, bodies in fluoride.
What is good, y'all? This is JV here, back with another album review. Now, this one's a little bit late, and I do apologize for that, but I really wanted to spend a little extra time, really checking out this album and solidifying my thoughts on it. And today we're going over Denzel Curry's second studio full-length album, Imperial. Really excited about this one. This is his second album, his first one on Nostalgic 64. Big fan of that one. Last summer, I believe at the top of the summer, like June-ish, he put out that double EP, Planet Shrooms 32Zel or something like that, or 32Zel Planet Shrooms. Really dope double EP. And I feel like he really perfected his sound with this particular project, man. I gotta say that this project, top to finish, it's clean, it's concise, and I feel like he finally got that hook game down. He gives us bars, he gives us some narrative, he got some dope features on this particular project. So I gotta say that I really love this project, man, and definitely something I see myself revisiting, one of the better projects that have dropped this year. So the usual, I'm gonna go track by track, give my quick thoughts on each track, and then at the end I'm gonna let you guys know, overall how I felt about it. Now, before I get started, I believe Ronnie J did a lot of the producing on this album, so shout out to him, man. Did an absolutely fantastic job in that regard. So let's start off. First track, we got Ult. He dropped the music video for this particular track before the album dropped, and I checked that out. He was, with the squad. It was great, and obviously you can't help but make the comparison to Ultimate that he dropped on his last double EP. But he really, differentiated this particular one. It has that classic, Denzel Curry triplet flow that he uses a lot, man. Was really feeling this one. It had that clean, sharp trap production on it. It's a hard-hitting track, and it's a great way to really, start this project and put it in motion. Second track we have is Gook. By far my favorite track on this album. It's an absolute banger. It's got a dope melody, a catchy melody over there on the hook. It's pretty straightforward of a hook. I'm a gook, but man, I absolutely love that track. This is a track that I find myself, going back to the most, so definitely love this track. Third one, we got Sick and Tired. Now this is a really interesting track because it kind of has like that street narrative. We got a lot of gun clap raps in here, some overall street rap, watch your back kind of stuff. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective from him because, Denzel Curry most definitely has always balanced the kind of nerdier side and then some deeper metaphors, and then Asian culture and stuff like that he's dabbled in, and he's always kind of mixed that with that street feel. So I feel like he really tapped into that street side of him on this particular track. So I thought that was a really dope addition to the album, and it definitely, this album starts off really strong. I mean, back to back we got Ult, Gook, Sick and Tired. I mean, these are three powerful tracks, and then that moves us into Naughty Head with Rick Ross. Now, when I saw Rick Ross on the feature list for the first time, when I saw the track listing, I gotta admit I was hesitant. I didn't really know. Again, I don't hate Rick Ross's music at all. I think it's really hit or miss. There's definitely a type of Rick Ross I like. I like the smoother, Dice, Pineapples, Ashton Martin music kind of Rick Ross, me personally. Port of Miami kind of stuff. So I wasn't sure what Rick Ross. I was hoping, please don't give us Trapper Rick Ross. I'm not in the mood for that. And luckily, with that Florida pride, showing love to the young guys, man, he came through with a fire verse, man. And obviously, Denzel held it down himself. And sorry if I keep looking down. I'm looking at the track listing. Denzel really came through with a powerful verse too. So I mean, they have a surprisingly decent, chemistry together. So I would love to see more work together. And man, Rick Ross really did a great job on that particular verse. That brings me to song number 5, Narcotics, which is definitely my favorite from a narrative perspective and the overall theme of the particular song. It's not something I necessarily listen to all the time, but I really like the ideas where it's kind of making parallels about the way the police, falsely identify him and target, youth, linking them to these drug crimes, and then, how the crack game and then the drug game in general kind of impacts his life, his hood, and the overall community, and all the, unnecessary, targeting by the police. So I thought that was a really fascinating track and a definite level to add some degree of consciousness to this project. And that's what I love about Denzel Curry is, I mean, his flow is what drew me in the first time. Just that iconic, triplet, fast, speedy, articulate flow on some heavy trap beats. That kind of shouting, almost, I would only parallel it to maybe like a Meek Millish, for example. Like he's just rap, like screaming his entire verses. So that's what drew me in the first time. But over time, after listening to his full project, I noticed that he actually really has some degree of social commentary on his track. So this is definitely one of the tracks that I really enjoyed. How he went into depth into that. Number 6, Story No Title. I thought this was a really fascinating track. Definitely thought there was some really dope bars and metaphors. That's what kind of really stood out in this particular track for me. I thought he flipped some really dope fire lines on this one. So that's a real interesting listen. From an instrumental perspective too, it's a pretty solid track. But definitely what drew me in was just the lyricism. This is a dope song to just like put in, close your eyes, and just really focus on his lyrics, because he really pulls through on this particular track. Next we got number 7, Pure Enough. Love this track. He definitely takes it more introspective in this one, and it was a real kind of like interesting look into his overall mental and how he's processes kind of like his emotions and stuff like that. So Pure Enough is a really interesting track, and by being introspective, he almost kind of inadvertently asks you questions too, and has you looking into yourself. So I thought that was a really solid track, and a dope placement. Put it right in the middle. There's Imperial. It kind of like does this for me in a positive way. It starts off super powerful, and it dips down, not in subject matter or quality, but in energy, and he really kind of takes it back in the center of the album, brings you these really melodic choruses, and has you really kind of like looking into yourself, thinking about some bigger picture and some bigger ideas. And that brings me to the next track, This Life, which seems like he's speaking to a female or a possible spouse or a love interest on this track. So I thought that was a definite interesting play. Not something I don't think I've ever seen him do. He definitely took it down tempo on this one. Again, another dope instrumental used on this particular track. Number 9, definitely I would say my third favorite, because I like Naughty Head a lot. Zenith with Joey Badass. Was really curious about this track. This is probably one of the tracks that I was definitely most excited to hear. Big Joey fan, big fan of Pro Era in general. So I wasn't sure what dynamic would have. I wasn't sure if they're going to take a more East Coast direction. I don't know if he's going to bring Joey into the Florida sound, because Joey's been experimenting more trap kind of stuff lately. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary per se to see Joey take more of a trap direction. Or I was wondering if it was going to be a melding of the two, and it seems like we got a melding of the two now. From a drum pattern perspective, this is definitely more of an East Coast based track, if I have to be honest. Definitely, Joey brings the flavor. There's something about these jazzy bass lines that he uses in his instrumentals. And so to me, the Zenith is definitely the best of both worlds, man. You get Denzel being himself. He doesn't really divert from his formula per se. He's really perfected his own style right now, and he does not compromise on that track, and neither does Joey. And they kind of come together in this dope space where it's like a perfect mix of like Florida meets New York. So I really enjoy this track. This is another one that I see myself revisiting. And then lastly, we got If Tomorrow's Not Here, and this is an interesting track to me. It has a huge instrumental switch up from pretty much the rest of the album. We get some dope soulful R&B vocals on the second half of the track. Not something I expected at all. I'm not sure how I feel about its placement on the album. I love the song, but I'm not sure if I was feeling it as an outro per se. I thought it kind of switched up the vibe of the album like really last minute and kind of like faded out. And I was like, well, that was kind of like a weird place to end it, you know what I mean? I feel like maybe if you threw that around track 5, track 6, and then ended it maybe on Zenith, that would have been a more fitting mood, the overall aesthetic of the album. But that's just my personal opinion. Overall, I'm a fan of not short projects per se, but tracks that don't albums that don't overstay their welcome. They do what they do in a clean, concise manner. Don't really waste your time. Don't really convolute the album with unnecessary interludes and intros and outros and blah blah blah. We get a straight clean 10 tracks, almost like J-Rock 90059 kind of style. Here, this is what we got. We're going straight to the point, not wasting any time on some unnecessary dialogue and getting right into it. With exception, I believe, Sick and Tired has a bit of a little intro there, but other than that, you know, we get straight into the music, and I think this is definitely my favorite Denzel Curry project to date, and this is just my personal opinion. Really enjoy this one. If I had to compare it, it's probably, as of right now, maybe kind of going head to head with Flatbush Zombies, but probably one of my favorite projects of 2016 so far. And you know, as the year's going right now, I could definitely see this being in my top 10 projects of the year overall. Curious as to what y'all thoughts. So in the comment section below, let me know what you thought about this album. What do you think about Denzel Curry in general? How do you think this compares to his previous projects? Were you feeling it? Were there any tracks on this particular album that you did not like? Let me know your thoughts below. Till next time, this is JV. I love you guys. Bye.